been
days?
doing this. Yeah, we haven't been live on YouTube, so we go live on YouTube or live on TikTok. So one or the other.
Mm, yeah.
Um, we've had more interaction and engagement on TikTok. So, our feelings get heard on YouTube. Our shorts have done decently well in the last 7 days, but
Yeah.
you know,
I don't know.
we're
I
only
mean,
we're not quite we're not to 100 followers yet even, but we've
no.
had several thousand views in the last 7 days, so we're doing all
Yeah.
right. We're trying to really we're digging in. We made a commitment to each other last week for specifically YouTube and TikTok,
Yeah.
you know, to dig in and try to up our cadence and do more here.
And I
Um,
think that for anybody that may be watching this or comes across this, because we are streaming live from our Big Brain Strategy account, which is our
mhm.
consultancy account. We are co-founders of Big Brain Strategy, and we've had also a podcast for the last almost now a year and a half. So we started January 1st of 2025. And we are usually there. And this is what we look like. It's not a very high production
Yeah, right.
podcast
Right.
by any means, but
Yeah.
it's really, I think the podcast allows us to do a little bit more like venting and unfiltered things, whereas this is more of an educational thing. And what we're finding, I think, Mike, and you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong here, but things are changing in our world almost daily at this point.
Yeah.
There's a new AI tool coming out. There's this company is doing this for marketing. This company is doing that. Everybody's vying for everybody's attention. And just doing like one episode a week of our podcast just doesn't even seem like it covers enough of what we want to talk about. And when we talk about these things, we're specifically talking to, small to mid-sized businesses,
Mhm.
and how it impacts, how these changes impact that group of people that doesn't usually have a ton of support from actual marketing agencies or marketing professionals just due to their own budgets and so on and so forth. And of course, occasionally we have guests like Beef here.
This is his name is Ribeye, but we call him Beefy or Beef.
Beefy. I love him. He's adorable.
He's Beefy.
So y'all,
He is a
Beefy.
rescue. He's a
He's
rescue
cool.
pitty. He's been with
Yeah.
us just over a week now. He's a rescue, and he's obviously very grateful about being rescued, but he's a very nice boy, isn't he? Aren't you? You are a nice
He is
boy.
not, and he just smacked his head right into your mic.
I know.
He is not the only dog you and your wife have though. So
Where's
he
the
just
other one?
happens to be one
I don't
that
know if you can
really
see him
enjoys
behind
screen
me.
time. Yeah. The other
This
one
is the
is
guy,
somewhere behind
yes.
Mike.
He's behind me, asleep on the couch behind me. Jelly
Right.
Bean, also a rescue, a pity
Mm,
mix. Jelly Bean is.
yeah.
Beefy here though is pity.
Full pet. Yeah. And
He's a
my
funny
dog
guy.
is under my
Sorry.
desk snoring also. So
Yeah.
my dog is also a rescue. We are dog people, y'all. So
Yes. I know.
we
They
are
need to
definitely
nap
dog
now,
people.
and it's like
Yeah.
having toddlers, and especially with these two integrating them together. It's only been a little over a week, and they're
Yeah.
figuring each other out and boundaries and stuff. So,
Yeah. You've
and they're
had your
pitty,
hands
so
full.
they play very rough. It makes my wife so nervous because pitties are also very vocal when they play with each other. So,
Yeah.
um, it sounds vicious, but
But they're
they're
just
not.
playing.
They're
My
playing. They have a
my
really good
puppy is
time.
an old man. He is
Yeah.
almost 10, and he is currently snoring under my desk because it's raining out, and he's just having a chill day today.
I
He doesn't
know.
have
Rainy
anything to
today.
bark at outside because nothing's happening outside.
Sad, because
So
that's what these two would be out in the yard playing right now, but now they can't.
yeah.
So okay,
But
sorry,
hey, we can talk
diversion
about
there,
our dogs
everybody.
like all day.
I know.
So
So yeah, that's what not like Nada said. We try to answer questions here, and we're not. Our podcast is the Cynical Marketers, and I know everybody has a podcast, and everybody says podcast equipment should be more expensive.
mhm.
That's a comment we'll get sometimes. But
Yeah.
it's funny because people don't they don't connect with businesses and brands and agencies, right?
Right.
But the podcast gets a lot of interaction, has had a good amount of views on it. Not the full, because you know what's funny about podcasts right now today too, and I know that the big guys have said this too.
Mhm.
Um, Clips way outperform the full
Yes.
podcast.
Yes.
So nobody listens to a full podcast. And if you have TikTok or anything, you really don't have to, because you know they're going to put out all the clips and it's going to be like
Yeah.
a highlight anyway. So you're like, oh, okay, well, I've pretty much, I
Right.
think, seen all the best stuff from that. You know, do I need to listen to 3 hours of Rogan? No. They'll put the clips out.
Not
If they're
unless you
interesting, I can
particularly love
I can
Joe
listen to 90
Rogan.
seconds. Yeah. You know, or Sean Ryan or whoever, the big ones.
Right. Yeah.
So,
It's
you know, our
interesting.
podcast has more followers and we're not huge, of course. So that obviously
Right.
means in the internet world, we don't know what we're doing. But again, either way, that's marketing and it's who's going to follow that stuff, really? We're interesting to the
Yeah, I
very
mean,
small group of people that it's interesting to. Some business owners, right? Other marketers. It's not going to be widely accessible. There's, you know, a 20-year-old kid in Seattle, Washington, it doesn't want to hear
right.
from marketers on a podcast about YouTube, you
I know.
know? So I don't know,
It's
but
been a
that's why,
thing.
you know, and so you start that podcast to do something different and give us a long form way to
Right.
speak and just kind of talk. It gives us time practice. And then when we talk to clients about it, we're more able to talk about it, you
Right.
know, and here's how what you can do, some tips. Um, and we've worked with people. I've worked with I do a lot more video and editing as well. So I've worked with people on their podcasts and done stuff who've been way bigger.
Yeah.
So you will find that like pod editors and people like that out there or graphic designers who design
Mhm.
stuff that get millions of views, but their social media, they have 10 followers. And someone's like, well, you
Right.
don't know how to do this stuff. And you're like, well, I do it for
Mm,
brands that, you know,
right.
and products and things people care about, you know.
Right.
Nike, you know, unless you have an executive title or something for Nike, and then you throw that out and people don't really care about that person. Like when I used to be the CMO at Grunstyle, I mean, when
Right.
I had that title, I was the smartest person in the whole world. Everybody wanted me. I would could go on podcasts.
Right.
I spoke at South by Southwest. I did all kinds of stuff. I'm the smartest person ever. Then when I'm not the CMO with a $20 million budget, all of a sudden I'm not very smart anymore. I'm not
Right.
very interesting.
It's all
I
it's
obviously don't know what I'm doing.
a lot of it is vanity metrics, and we tell people this
Yeah.
all the
Mhm.
time in marketing. At the end of the day, really what you should be trending upwards is your revenue, right? If all your other
Mhm.
metrics like email open rates, impressions on ads, website impressions are all trending up, but your revenue isn't, then that's a problem, right? I think that at the end of the day, for a lot of the small to mid-sized businesses that we work with, that's what matters. And there's more stuff
That's
coming
the
into
strategy
play
piece to that.
now. Right.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
if
And
you're
there's,
getting a
I
lot of
think,
views, but it's not leading to things, then so what is the content that you're making, and who is the audience that that stuff is reaching? Then,
right,
so is your message right, or are you
right,
is your messaging hitting the wrong people now because they're not turning into leads and potential customers or purchasers
right,
if you're selling a consumer product, right? Just
right,
because you got a lot of views, it doesn't always lead to revenue, but that's where you're looking at things, and it should. You shouldn't just look and
right.
say, hey, we got 1 million impressions this month, we win.
No.
You know, that's a
I mean,
mistake. And there's a lot of marketers who wear that one because they do that a lot and they're held
right,
to that number and they don't care about revenue. But it's got
right,
to lead to revenue. Your activities lead to revenue. So you have to track that stuff and you're looking for not just your Google Ads attribution, because Google Ads people will take credit for everything. But if you're doing good on social media, you're doing good in email, you're doing good in building a brand and getting a message out, you will see that filter through into everything else that you're doing. Your ads perform better. You'll see branded search increase. You will see direct traffic to your website increase. You know, your cost per acquisition goes down the stronger your brand gets.
yeah,
So a lot of benefit to it. And there are metrics to watch other than just saying, let's get as many views as we can. So
yeah. I mean, we just live in such an interesting space, and why I think our sort of AMAs here, by the time we get, we get questions, and we've been asked questions in person. We've been asked questions from our friends, from our former colleagues. And so sometimes we've done a couple of these, and we've done like answered questions on here. And sometimes we'll hop on here and talk about trends. And I think the biggest news that sort of hit this morning, Mike, is what you've mentioned earlier to me, which is the Netflix content
Yeah,
changes.
so
So go ahead and
I
talk about that a
just saw
little bit.
this starting to go around. I just saw this story starting to go around. So it's out there. Ars Technica had it. Crunch, I think, had it. There's a few places with it, but apparently Netflix has the goal of putting a vertical video feed on their app by the end of April here, by the end of this month, in the next few days. I don't know. So I guess it's been something they're working on,
Yeah.
but they're going to go and put a vertical video feed like TikTok, like YouTube Shorts, to compete against those things. Obviously, with the goal of keeping people on their app to show them Netflix,
Right.
content. We don't want you leaving Netflix to go scroll TikTok, or
Right.
YouTube or anything.
Scroll here
So
instead. Yep.
exactly. So
So it's
I think it's very
interesting.
interesting, and it makes sense
Mhm.
from their standpoint. None of the platforms want you leaving their platform.
Right.
So that's why they don't like you to put links in anything, because they don't want to send people to your website, because it takes them away from their platform, and they want you on their platform so you can be shown ads. And that's it.
Right.
So I think it's very interesting. And then I was looking up numbers, and I'm like, well, how many people use the app daily, their daily average users? And it is significant. It's a
It is
lot of people
definitely
who actually
significant.
do use it.
I
Yeah.
have Netflix. I have Netflix streaming in the background while I work the entirety of my day. So,
Mm.
like yesterday, for example, which was a Sunday, I was working because I was finishing up a couple of projects, and I think I was on Netflix for over 5 hours when I looked at my activity on my screen time activity on my phone. And it's interesting to me because you had mentioned this about Netflix, Mike, and I looked it up and I was like, oh, great. Like we need another platform of user generated videos and, just another way to scroll. And I guess initially they're thinking of launching this as a 30-second clips that you can scroll through that are, positioning the content that they already have, right? Which is their shows, the movies, all the things. They're marketing it as like a way for you to discover new things to watch on Netflix,
Mm.
right? But how quickly do you think that is going to turn into user generated content on Netflix?
Oh, immediately, I'm sure,
Well,
because the Hollywood. I don't know if you followed this trend, because I follow a lot of Hollywood and pop culture stuff.
nope,
They're leaning
not my thing.
into creatives, and they're looking for people who are storytellers, and there are more and more. Hollywood has signed deals with several YouTube creators, and you'll see some of them who are out on getting TV deals, and they're all trying to snap short form content creators up right now, because that's what's getting attention. That's what gets views. People have, I say attention, that word, most people now, our attention spans have been vastly degraded.
Of course, yeah.
None of us
Oh
want to
gosh.
watch anything. I find myself this way too. Now, I have always had that. I am an ADHD, only recently diagnosed at the age of 52, but I've known this my whole life from how everyone talks to me, that I have had this issue, right? So I don't stay paying attention to much of anything. Um, but now you're like, you'll find yourself scrolling a video, and you're watching a video, and you're like, oh, get to the point already. And I am terrible about that too. I don't get to the point. I'm a long-winded, wordy talker. So
Same.
I don't know. I think they're
Um,
gonna switch. They'll bring it on, because they're just looking for eyeballs. How do they keep people on Netflix and not going anywhere
right.
else?
Yeah. I mean, I find this really interesting because I will have Netflix on in the background. So, like, we're sitting in front of our computers, I'm on my computer and I'm working, but Netflix always streams off my phone, right? So, it's not like I will have it literally have my phone sitting on my desk playing a show that I've seen probably a million times because I just need background noise. There is no TV in my office, right? So in this room that I'm in. So for me, that's, I have a hard time sitting and watching a movie because like you said, Mike, like I feel like our attention spans have just degraded, right? And so I have a very hard time watching something consistently for an hour and a half to 2 hours, right? I
Yeah.
don't remember the last time I went to the theater. I have over the last several years because I have a young child who wants to go see movies in the theater because that's a whole experience. But for myself to go see a movie, I haven't done it in a long time. And I find that I also personally don't even watch movies as much as I watch TV shows and as much as I can like watch and
Right.
rewatch TV shows. And so for me, it's interesting because when I stream on Netflix, I put a show on and it goes and it's next episode and next episode and next episode, right? Even
Yeah.
if it's something
Yeah.
that I'm watching and I'll take
Yeah.
breaks, but I never hold my phone and scroll through 30 seconds. Like, but Netflix has been known and there's been information out there to say that people spend a lot of freaking time just trying to find something to watch on Netflix because there's so
That's the
much stuff,
problem. Yeah.
right?
With all of
And
them is,
so I feel like this is
yeah.
their way of saying, like, hey, we already have eyeballs on this. Let's make it more entertaining. And oh, by the way, we've just now learned, which we kind of knew, but it's been confirmed through Meta and YouTube. There's that these short form 30-second to 60-second videos are specifically designed to sort of build an addiction to scrolling, right? It's why they call
Mhm.
it doom scrolling and such. So I feel like this is an excellent play on Netflix to for people who are like, yeah, what are we going to watch? Well, let's just watch these clips of these different shows until we come across something that we actually want to watch. Like I find that interesting because how many things, and then I'm assuming they'll put in a play an algorithm that the more you interact with specific clips, I'm sure there's going to be like a like button or save button or something for you to watch later that they'll give you more of the clips of that show. And you almost don't have to even watch anything in its entirety. You
Yeah.
can just watch clips of it. Like I
Oh,
find this,
they
I
used to
mean,
have such a
really
good
interesting.
algorithm on Netflix
Yeah.
until I think was it Amy Schumer? Amy Schumer ruined that because like one of her movies or something
How?
got so downvoted that they got rid of it, and you can't
Oh,
because
really?
if you remember in the early days of Netflix, well, the early days of online Netflix, because the early days of Netflix, you used to get sent the CDs at your house, you know.
Right. No, been
Um,
there. We are that
yeah, and you
old.
remember like you had the one CD plan or the two that you could have, and
Yes.
yeah. Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
so, but you remember in
For
the
that.
earlier days on online app, like they used to just have all the movies there, and you would thumb up or thumb down it, and you could help it. You were training it on what you liked, and it
Right.
was such a better experience. Yeah, find something now. My wife and I will wonder, or we'll think about a movie or something, or like we'll see somebody in something and think about a movie that they were in, or an old TV show, and we're like, oh, who's got that right now?
Yeah.
Who knows? And then
Who
go
knows?
Google and find like who's streaming this. Does anybody?
Right. Where to
Probably not.
watch kind of
Yeah.
thing.
How do
Yeah.
you find anything to watch now?
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
don't
And
either. Really, I can't. The last movie I watched on streaming, it's been a while, and I don't watch a
yeah.
whole lot of TV anymore, except with my wife. But like when I'm up in the morning and I'm just kind of working on my computer, I don't even
Yeah.
have the TV on. And if I do like you do, but I have YouTube TV going, and
Hmm.
I'll have either American Dad or
Sports
Family Guy
news.
going, and just
Oh,
let it.
okay. I was
I
like, are
just
you a
let it
sports and
run.
news guy? I can't
Yeah.
have I don't even know what regular TV looks like anymore, to be perfectly honest. So we had Xfinity for our cable and for internet. And for those of you who may have jumped on our like TikTok yesterday, we talked about how terrible all of the different internet options are in our area. But I
And
I
mine's bad
haven't
right now, I
watched
think. Yeah.
legitimate TV in ages, right? Like I think last time I sat down and watched things that were on TV was, I mean, years ago. And so it's interesting for me, like I always have
Yeah.
Netflix or the HBO app streaming in the background, depending on what show I want to watch. But I find this such an interesting move for Netflix, Mike, because I do think, they have acquired a lot of what I've noticed recently is because I started watching them a lot more recently than anything else. Because I find on Hulu, I had Hulu and what am I thinking of? I can't, it's not Prime, but we
Apple
had
or
something else. Like I think Apple maybe.
yeah.
Everything that I want to watch is still something I have to pay extra for. And
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, and I'm not doing this. Like, what the heck is this?
Oh, Amazon
And
Prime, I
so
think, is
I've
the
kind of
absolute
leaned,
worst for that. They don't
yeah,
separate
no,
out,
and I don't
and
do
they used to
right.
separate it, I think, but now you're like, oh, that they have that movie. Click on that for $3.99 or whatever. You're like,
Right.
look, I'm already paying you. Like, I'm not. Just show me what I can get with the plan that I'm paying you for. I'm not paying to rent something now. I'm already paying you. Oh,
I know. That's
Amazon.
why, so that was for me like Hulu, because I think we were on a lower tier of Hulu for that. And like, so I just kind of gave up on Hulu entirely. I think the last thing I watched on Hulu was Mad About You, which is a fantastic show, and I stand by that. But I watch Netflix a ton. And what I've seen is they've acquired a lot of licenses for foreign movies, which I'm not
Mhm.
mad at. I've seen some really great shows that are not, that are subtitled. And like one of my favorite books is now a Turkish miniseries that they've, adapted and did, English, um, what I don't know the right term. It's not subtitles, but where you can actually listen to it in English, like it's dubbed in a
Oh
different
yeah,
language
dubbed.
or whatever. Yeah.
It's
So,
dubbed.
you
Yeah.
know, yeah. So I have really enjoyed that. And I've been spending a lot more time on Netflix, but I don't spend time scrolling on Netflix. And so I think this is a really interesting idea as these apps like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these other streaming services are vying for people's attention, right? And like we know YouTube shorts on YouTube perform a ton better than full length videos, and get
Hmm.
more views and more engagement for us. And we've seen it for other people. It's an interesting move on Netflix part because it's adding almost that social aspect that isn't there now, right? And so it's taking attention from other things you're going to doom scroll anyway to put you on their platform, and
Yeah.
then I'm sure user generated content is coming right after, and we talk about this I think in context of marketing, Mike, because this impacts where people spend their time, impacts how you as a business owner then use your social media and your because you are that little, there's the little corner of the internet, as they say, that is yours, where you get to promote things that your business, your skill set, your whatever, your company, right? And so when you have these big folks like Netflix vying for everybody's time, if I'm on Netflix scrolling clips of TV shows or movies, I'm not on Instagram or I'm not on TikTok where you're selling your service or your product, right?
Yeah.
So it impacts you, whether you want to think that it doesn't or not. You're like, man, I don't care. I'm not, why does that matter to me? It matters because people's attention is going to go. There's now another
Yeah.
place for people to be spending their time, right?
Yeah. That's what I tell businesses is you're not just competing against your competitors. You are competing against everyone. You're competing against Netflix, and Apple and Hulu
Yeah.
and YouTube and Nike. You're competing against all those
Yeah.
big names because everybody needs the attention of the same people. Those customers that you have in your customer group, they are also customers of other businesses who also want their attention. And there's so
Yeah.
much you can be seen by a person in a day. So it's not
Yeah.
just your competitors trying to get your customers. Everybody is. And you're fighting
Oh,
for
yeah.
attention.
Definitely.
And when you don't show up, this is one of my favorite things. Businesses are like, yeah, we do something once a week or so. I'm like, oh, great. You're invisible.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
invisible because there's so much that happens. Your people, don't remember you
Yeah.
if they've even seen you.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think Gary Vee, I just saw because I talked about this too, but Gary Vee did a video, so that must mean it's real now. Um, that you will never make enough stuff where people ever get sick of you. It's just not possible.
Right.
You cannot do enough. The only people
I
who can
mean,
do that are insurance companies who pay
yeah,
so much for TV ads. They're the only ones who ever get to that level. You're not
yeah,
getting there. You know, you're
yeah.
sick of it.
That's fair.
You know, more than likely you're sick of it. And that's the mistake business owners make then is they're like, well,
Yeah.
people are getting sick of my content. Like, no, they're not.
Mhm.
85 people saw that last video, Bob.
Right,
Nobody's sick
right.
of it.
Yeah, nobody can.
Well, the
Yeah,
one before
it's
that,
wild.
2000 saw it. I know, but then they forgot it, you know,
Right.
20 minutes later. You have to show up again. You got to hit them again and again and again and again.
Yes.
By the time
Yes.
you're finally being remembered, you're not even
Oh
anywhere still
gosh.
close to being hated yet.
No. And that's, I
You know?
think, a lot of, we talk about a lot of businesses make that mistake where they're like, that's too much content. You're like, there is no such thing.
There's no
There's
such thing.
no,
Yeah.
there's not there, the problem is though, too, I think for small businesses, we've talked about this so much, is, you know, you start hammering down content and you're doing great. And now you're getting views and you're getting subscribers to your different channels and you're excited about it. And then business gets in the way and you stop things for 2 weeks. And then you're starting from
Mm.
zero again. Like those
Yeah. Lack
subscribers
of
that you had don't
consistency
really mean
kills.
anything, you know?
Yeah.
And so you're constantly
It
fighting for that
kills.
attention. And I think it's better if you post one time a day consistently, ongoing, than trying to do the things that the TikToker influencers tell you of like, you need to post 5 times a day to get seen. And that's true for influencers, right? But if you know you cannot sustain that cadence going forward for an entirety of however long you plan to run your business, then don't do that. Do what makes sense for you. Like I think that's where a lot of small businesses feel the pressure. They know they got to be on social media. They'll go like really hard on content for a couple of weeks and then just drop off,
You got to post
and
once a
then
day. I think the bare
yeah,
minimum is once a day.
bare minimum
You
should be
can't
once a
miss.
day, and that should be your cadence to
Yeah.
start with. And as you build your library, then you can up the
Right.
cadence.
Reuse your
You know,
content. That's the point of when
right?
you make evergreen content. Evergreen content is
Yes,
content that does not
you can
expire.
reuse it.
You
Yeah.
can reuse it. There's nothing wrong with reusing it. Nobody saw the first one. It's okay. And it's okay. Hey, again, I go back to TV commercials and the big brands. When they pay 6-7 figures for a commercial, they don't run it once and say, we
Mhm.
can't do this one anymore. They
Right.
run that thing into the ground. You need to do
Mhm.
that. You need
Yes.
to do that with your content. So yes, as you're
Yeah.
building a library, then you can start to increase your cadence. But once a
Yeah,
day is the
definitely.
minimum, or you're just
The
not.
bare minimum.
I
Yep.
think of a radar sweep. You think of a radar screen and that arm's going around and there's the beep, beep. And that's every
Yeah.
time you're showing up on the radar of one of your potential customers. And that blip
Right.
is once a day. The sweep is a 24-hour period, right? Now you don't post
Yeah.
on Tuesday and it goes around and you're not there. And then you forgot Wednesday because you didn't do anything and it's busy and you're not there.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Thursday you're there
Yeah.
again. You're like, well, do you think they remembered you? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know,
Probably not. No.
it, it's so hard. And this is why it is so hard, is because of our
Yeah.
short attention spans. People's memories are
Right.
short now, their attention
Oh,
spans are
yeah.
short.
100%. Yeah.
So you've got to make a lot of stuff and show up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's really where you're trying to almost treating everybody like a toddler, where you have to repeat things so often to get it through to anybody.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it
Oh,
such
yeah.
a challenge, is because most people will not be able to do it. So then they quit and don't do it at
No.
all, or they do it sporadically. And I think starting and quitting is the worst because, like you've said before, Nada, like your social media is 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 validation, right? For your business too. Like if somebody does see you, they're probably going to go take a look at your social media
Oh, yeah.
and see what kind of stuff you post.
100%.
And I think there's nothing worse than when somebody sees you and they go check your Facebook page or something and your net last post was 2019.
Right.
You're like, are they in business? Like, why wouldn't you just take this down then if you're just not going to do it? Like, kill the page. Like, so
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
that's
it's really
worse is
interesting.
quitting.
It's really interesting to me, like, um, and we've seen very successful businesses, and you go on their social media and they haven't posted anything in 3 months, right? To me as a consumer, to me as a person that spends a lot more time than I should on Instagram, for example, right? If I see something like that, I'm like, "Oh, okay, let me check out," like I'll see an ad or people who run ads. This is the biggest thing that I like take issue with, right? You're running ads, you're showing something, "Oh my god, it's a t-shirt I like or it's a sweater I like. Cool. Let me see what this company is. I've never heard of them." I click on their profile cuz I hate clicking on ads and I will not convert from an ad. That's because I'm in marketing. It's a professional thing. Like it's
Yeah.
just but if I see something, I'll go check you out. I'll go check out your website and I'll go to the profile and there's, nothing's been posted for 4 months on your Instagram profile, but you're running ads.
Yeah.
I
Are you
am
in
going
business?
to
Like, what's going
assume
on
that
here? Are you legit?
I'm just going to assume that maybe you forgot to turn your ad off or you're just no longer in business. Like it's, and this happens a lot, Mike. What I've noticed for me, it happens a lot on local businesses. I will be
Mm,
on like I
yeah.
spend most of my time on Instagram for personal use, right? For those of you that, I'm not a TikTok girly or a Facebook girly. I'm on Instagram. Been there for like 15 years. That's where I'm staying. So I scroll a ton and I'll find local businesses, like local to our area. And I'll be like, what is this business? I've never heard of this business, right? And then I'll see an ad and I'll be like, "Oh, wow, that looks cool." Like there's apparently a bookstore slash cafe slash something in the downtown area of where we live. And I'll go like to their profile and I see nothing on social media, just a couple of handful posts like that have been put up the last couple of months. But the ad that they've created is so cool. It's like a very inviting. The place looks really great. Like there is a disconnect and it's just sort of weird to me. Like, why would you not translate that to an actual social media presence? I don't want to see an
Hmm.
ad for something and then come to your page and not get like, see something that you posted 3 months ago. Like don't be that business. I think people look for social proof. I'm in marketing and I know how this works and I'm still a consumer though and I still look. Like to me, I
Yeah.
think like my consumer behavior is an average consumer behavior. I'm no better or worse than any regular average, almost 50
Right.
woman that is out there, spending time on social media. So to me, it's just like, be consistent, like show up, it makes a difference. I don't,
I think it's
yeah,
funny that so many businesses then who don't want to do social media, but they'll run ads. So you're like, you're
yeah,
paying for because it's rare that somebody's going to convert the first time they see you. So then if you're not doing any organic social media, which can help then build awareness, right? And help your ads convert better because now you're paying for those early impressions where they're not going to convert and they're just kind of learning about you and they haven't
right.
decided yet, you know? So you're paying for all
Yeah,
of that. Why wouldn't you put stuff out organically? And when they've interacted with an ad of yours, they're more likely to be served your organic content as well. So you can
yeah,
continue that education and continue that
right.
journey with them to move
Yeah,
them towards a purchase, you know?
right.
But instead, people are just like, no, we'll let the paid ads handle all of that. And you're like, well, that is more expensive. It is a way to
Yeah,
go, but more expensive, going to cost you a lot more money,
right.
and the way things are going
Right.
now on all the platforms, like, Andromeda update on Meta, you need a lot of
Oh my
creative.
gosh. Yeah,
So are you supporting that? You
right.
almost need as much creative now on the ad side as if you're just running an organic campaign
Yeah,
already anyway. You've got to
right.
create all of it, run an organic campaign alongside your paid ads. The two of them
Yeah,
together
exactly.
work better than either one of them alone.
Right.
So, but most don't,
And
especially small businesses, especially not
oh
and I
gosh,
live in the
yeah,
Wheaton area, suburb of
right.
Chicago. None of these businesses, they're like, we're in downtown. We're in downtown Wheaton. We're in downtown Glen Ellen. We don't have to advertise. We just put we're open
Yeah.
sign out in front of our
Yes, you
building
do.
and
It's
business
actually
just walks
wild to
in.
me that that businesses don't think that they have to advertise because they have the chamber and different like downtown associations or alliances or whatever they're called in different areas, right? Where of course, like, those folks, because their existence depends on businesses in their area being successful, right? Yes, they will help
Right.
you advertise up to a point, but it is not their responsibility to keep you in business. I think that's the part that a lot of small businesses miss. And we've worked with so many of them, Mike, that like, I think they miss the point of like, well, I have the foot traffic. I have the chamber is helping advertise my business. The chamber does events, or the downtown association in Wheaton will do events. And that's all great. But I've been in Wheaton, like I've lived in Wheaton for the last 6 years, and I can name like what now, six or seven different businesses, more than the number is higher than the years I've been here, that have
Yeah.
changed out in a specific spot that is like slap in the middle of downtown Wheaton for a
Oh
restaurant.
yeah, yeah,
There's not a
yeah.
restaurant that can stay there to save their life, right? And you're like, well, why is that? Right. And people will argue that like overhead is too high, of course, because small businesses, rent is your big operational expense, no matter where you are, if you have a brick and mortar business. But also, like, what is your strategy to get the word out? How do you differentiate yourself from 16 other restaurants that are
Oh,
within walking
I'll,
distance of
I'll
you?
tell you,
You
in the
know?
mom and pop restaurant business, there is no
Yeah.
strategy. They don't advertise. They wonder why they all
Yeah.
go out of business, but none of them will advertise. They don't have any money. They're working on very thin margins. Next to none of them advertise. We used to want to target restaurants, and then you're like, no, I'm done with that game. You guys don't have
Yeah.
any money. You're a pain in the ass. You don't
Yeah.
actually want to do anything. You just think people are going to come in, and then you guys wonder why 90% of you go out of business in your first year and nearly all of you are gone by year 5 because none of you advertise.
Yeah.
You just expect people to find you and know. Like one of my sons and I used to do trivia. We used to like to go out and do trivia in our area here. And you're always looking for like, hey, is there a trivia night going on tonight or something? And it was
Right.
impossible to find anything. And then somebody's like, yeah, this place has it on Tuesdays and this one over here has it. I'm like, but how do you know? They don't have it on their website. It's not on their, so like they didn't even advertise any of it. So rare
Yeah.
to find a restaurant that will actually advertise because they'll say like, we
Yeah.
don't have the money for it. Yeah.
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 I
I
mean,
totally get it. Don't do the thing that brings in money. Don't
yeah.
invest in doing that. Yeah. Marketing's an expense. You're going to be out of business and you, I wouldn't say you deserve it, but if you're not going to market your business, any business that you're going to open, if you can't market it, what do you think is going to happen? Why do you think people are going to come give you money? Just
Oh,
because you
sorry,
opened?
that was light.
You're in business
Yeah.
now? Not and I, we have to market our business too. And it's hard
Right.
because there's a lot of
It
people
is
out there doing
hard.
what we do. So we compete with a lot of
Right.
people. So it's not easy.
And we're not competing with
But
local people. We're not competing with other businesses in our area, in Chicagoland, in Illinois, in other states in the US. We're competing with people who do what we do globally. There are
yeah,
networks like Upwork and Fiverr and, a ton. And I mean, even on LinkedIn, a ton of companies. And we've worked enough in marketing as clients on the agency side that we know the first budget line that gets cut in any business that is in trouble and needs cash flow is marketing. If you are a consultant, you're that much more likely to be the first one to go. And with the emergence of all the AI tools, all the like translation in real time tools, I could be anywhere in the world doing what I'm doing. I don't even need to speak perfect English. I have tools that will help me with that. And I am
yep,
all on board for you to do however you got to make your living. Like we are doing the same thing, right? Like we're hustling for our business. We help our clients. We do really great work for our clients, and our clients are happy. But much like every other agency, every other marketing person, we have turn also, right? Like, and clients come and go, and you're in a constant state of, you know, seeking new business and figuring out like how to advance your skills with all the different technology that is going on, and all the things that are happening, right? Because how many times a day on LinkedIn can you hear that AI is going to replace your job? Like, so when we talk about marketing and we're talking about things and we're telling businesses things that they should be doing, it's no different than the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Um, and I just think, I don't know. It's
Yeah, I know. It's hard.
all we can do.
Like we compete
It's
again. Yeah,
hard.
we
It's hard
compete
for
with India.
everybody. Yeah. And don't think just because we're in marketing that marketing is somehow easier on us. It's not, right?
No,
It's
it's
not
not.
any
Yeah.
easier on us than it is on a local business, than it is on an e-commerce business. Every business has to do their due diligence to have a marketing strategy. And, you know, you just have to.
Well, we
There's
have the
no
same
business that's an
problem that
exception
every
to that,
other business owner has
you know?
is
Yeah.
how much, every other business owner's in the same boat. Like how much time can you spend
Yeah.
working on your business versus working in your business?
Yeah.
So we have clients and we'll be busy doing their work and their work
Yeah.
is the priority for us.
Yeah.
So we get client work done obviously before
Yeah.
anything else. The clients are the priority, not us.
Yes, of course.
So
Yeah.
then you got to get to that. And I know you all are in that same boat, right? It's the
Yeah.
thing that we all deal with in the small businesses is especially when you don't have a marketing department or
Yeah.
we don't have a sales team, right? So we're the marketers,
Right.
we
We
don't
don't
have
have a sales
sales.
team.
So
Yeah.
we have to try and do that too.
Right.
And Nat and I are
So
both
we're doing
terrible at
all of the
sales.
things.
Yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
we're our own graphic designers
We could
and all of
we
that.
could use
Like
we
all
could
of
use
you out
some.
there doing that
Yeah.
too. You're running a small
Right.
business, you're trying to figure out how to do these things and manage your clients. And I got to keep marketing. So we get it. And that's
Right.
one of the reasons too why we like working with small and mid-sized businesses because
Yeah.
we're the same. We get it. We know you're busy. So we
Right.
try to figure out strategies and things to help you get as much done as you can in the time that you have.
Yeah.
And we know what we're talking about because we've been there too.
Yeah.
And that's part of it.
Absolutely.
Whereas you hire somebody from, I call it the call center countries where, you
Right.
hire somebody from Upwork for $5 an hour. They haven't
Mhm.
been anywhere. They don't know this stuff. They don't know your market.
Right.
They don't know these things. Sure, you can use ChatGPT, but I don't know. Have you seen how
Right.
often that's wrong? If
Right.
you don't think that those things are wrong a lot, then you don't use AI tools very often.
Right.
Because those of
And I
us who
think
spend a
it's
lot of time using them have discovered like they're good,
right.
they're helpful. I really love it. I love Claude for reports,
I do too.
but you got to be careful with it.
Yep.
You really got to be on top of that stuff because they're wrong a lot and they start making stuff
Yeah.
up and they will confidently make things up.
Confidently make things up. It's really
Yeah,
interesting though, too, Mike. Like I think, we are, like we said at the top of the podcast, it's not a podcast, it's a live. I'm so used to saying
this is
podcast
our
because that's
live.
what we do. It's really interesting because there's stuff changing in our world constantly, right? And so, of course, like for example, you can find somebody on Upwork or Fiverr to set up and send emails for you all day long, right?
Yeah.
That is much different than what we do, right? And so it's, to me, I think where businesses fail, and we've talked about this a ton too on our podcast, and we've kind of been snarky about it, but it's very, very true, is you fail because you have tactics and not a strategy, right?
Yes.
And so you have tactics that you're confusing for strategy. You're saying, hey, my strategy is to send 2 emails a week to this audience and post 2 times a day on all these platforms and reach out to this many new leads or whatever business you're in, right? Those are tactics. That's not a strategy, right? That's not you working on your brand and like amplifying your brand and fine tuning your brand voice and understanding that sometimes maybe you will have to pivot and something that worked 2 years ago is not going to work now. You don't have a plan, right? Like you have things that are tasks that look like you have a plan, but that's not what you have. You have things you're doing. You don't have the why, you don't have the goal, you have
Yep.
no plan B on the tactics that you're doing. Sending more emails is not a better strategy. That's not what that is.
That's not a
And so we
strategy, right?
always
It's just
talk
more
about that.
tactics.
Yeah, it's
We're going to
just
post
more
on Facebook.
tactics.
That's not a
Right.
strategy. That
That's
is
a
a
tactic.
tactic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to send more emails and that again, yeah, if you just wanted somebody to set up a flow for you, yeah, go find somebody on Fiverr,
Right.
you know? That's
Exactly.
if that's all you need, you wouldn't need us for that.
Right.
We of course can do
Yeah.
that, but no, like, you know,
Yeah.
but the why you're going to do it, the how you're going to do it, who are you doing this for? What should you be doing? What is the message actually? Let's test creative and let's test some messaging here. And, there's a lot more thinking that
Yeah.
goes into it that you're not going to get from that $5 an hour person. Because
Right.
remember too, they're trying to maximize their money. So if they're the
Right.
cheapest option out there, you are
Yeah.
not their only client. They're going to take on as many as
Right.
they can because they're trying to make as much as
Right.
they can too. So they
Oh,
know when they have to
absolutely. They
chase
have
down the
to
cheap,
make, yeah.
yeah, they got to make money. So you're not their
Yeah.
only client. So they're going to do it as fast as they can. And that doesn't
Absolutely.
mean good.
Yep.
Fast, good, cheap, right? You got to pick you you got to
Pick
pick two.
one.
You can
Yeah. Or
you
like,
can you can
yeah,
only
pick
get two
two.
of
You
those, right?
can't.
That triangle, the fast, good, cheap
Mhm.
triangle. You can only have two.
Yeah.
So, like, if you just have tactics to execute, like you need somebody to schedule your social media posts, you're going to make all of them. You can make your
Yeah.
content, but and scheduling's a pain and monitoring that. Yes. Get a
Yeah.
kid. Get a
Yes.
kid to just schedule your stuff for you.
Right.
Great.
Yes. You can get
But you
somebody
don't know,
cheap for
like
that.
you've been doing social media for a year and it doesn't seem to be connecting and nothing is working.
Yeah.
That's when you need to talk to somebody and like, well, let's look at what's going on. Let's
Yeah.
actually come up with a strategy here and let's figure this out.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's really I think it's really interesting, Mike, too, like what, um, it's hard because like you said, it in full transparency. So we have clients that we do work for, right? And that work has to come before anything else. It has to come before us going live on YouTube. It has to come because those clients, we need to honor whatever the statement of work for those clients is. And, that work needs to get done. So we understand a lot of the times businesses will tell us, but like, I don't have time for this. Or I didn't post on social media this week. I just didn't have the time. Right. This is where, when we talk about what a strategy is, it's you building in the time into your schedule to do your content for social media.
mhm.
It's you, if you don't even have a budget to pay somebody like $6 an hour to post stuff on social media for you, then you have to do it. And we get it because we do it for ourselves, right? So, like, we understand that there's a task there, that there's time, that there's all of that that takes place, um, that you have to do for your business. Schedule the time. Make a
Yes.
commitment to yourself that you're going to schedule however much time you need. Don't overthink it. 2 hours a week to record your content and post your content for the week. Schedule it out. You know, the I think where a lot of small businesses just struggle is it is the I don't have the time for this, right? And maybe at some point you will have the budget. You got to get to a point where you have the budget to hire somebody to do these things for you, right? If you're an accountant, your time is not best spent doing social media, but how else are you going to get known? That is an avenue for you to advertise your business. You may not have money to hire somebody right off the bat, but you will eventually, right? This is why you got to do it on your own first. So set the time for yourself, and it sounds a lot simpler than it actually is, but set the time for yourself. Hold yourself
Well,
accountable to that
yeah,
schedule,
you have to schedule it because in every business person has this problem. If it's not on your calendar, it's probably not getting done,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
So
that's
we
true.
are all guilty of that. When something's on your
Mhm.
calendar, it's coming, nothing else goes onto that calendar space, then it gets blocked off. You've got the time, so
Right.
you got to block it off.
Yep.
And then the
Yeah.
other thing that you need to do is actually you plan your stuff out then and go
Mhm.
into that block of time already with the plan of what you're going to be doing. So then it's a lot easier to get it done. Not just like, okay, now I'm going to brainstorm and come up with some ideas during this block and like,
Yeah.
know, know what you're going to do because you should be able to. Again, you're making evergreen content. You're not trying to jump on trends. So it's not a last second thing that you need to be thinking about. You're talking about your business, your product, your services, and how you help your audience. You're trying to educate your audience on this
Yeah.
stuff that you do and why you are the one they need to work with or buy from.
Yeah.
So What are
Yeah.
those things? And one of the first things I tell people to do is just your FAQs. I'm sure if you have FAQs on your
Right.
website, you probably, when you paid
Mhm.
your 10 or 20 grand for the website that you happily dropped, like you all
Oof.
will all do, you won't pay for any marketing, but you'll pay 10 grand for a website without thinking about it. I'm sure that they did an FAQ section for you. And at that time, it was probably keyword researched because that's what an FAQ section should be. So there's
Right.
probably some SEO intent on your FAQ. Use those as video subjects now. Answer
Right.
your FAQs first. You know, that's a
Yeah.
place for you to start. And you should be
Yeah.
able to answer those things pretty easily. You don't need a script. You don't have to memorize it. This stuff should be pretty easy because it's talking about your business. You should, if a
Right.
customer called you and asked you that question, you would be able to answer it easily. You wouldn't need a script for them on the phone.
Right.
So
Right.
you got to block the time and plan it out, or it's not getting done. That's why it doesn't get done. Like everything. If
Yeah.
you don't know when you're going to go to the gym, if you just think like, well, I'll get there tomorrow sometime, you probably aren't going to go to the gym, right? The best way to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
regular about when people get regular with fitness, it's because they made it a priority and put it on their schedule, right? And blocked
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen for you without it,
Absolutely.
without blocking
No,
the time
definitely
and
not.
actually committing to it. And you're
Yeah.
marketing your business. It has to. How, you know, when I hear from business owners like, I'm just too busy to even market my business, I'm like, well, then I guess you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
like I
interesting to
guess,
me though, then how do how do you expect to have, have a successful business? And like you're positioning yourself unless you have, investment capital of some kind, you're always positioning yourself to be like one big change away from having to close doors. And we've talked
right?
about this. We had talked to a chiropractor, right? Who said that 90% of their business is referrals, and then the other or however it was, like 80-20 referrals and insurance, right? And so great, okay, you have referrals, that's awesome, that's a wonderful way to do it. But then a few months down the road, they were in a predicament where one of their chiropractors that worked in their practice was leaving, and they were leaving and potentially starting their own business. Where do you think the clients will go? Because I've
Yeah.
been that consumer. I've been that client. I have been the client that would like go for massage therapy for a year to the same person over and over and over again. If that person were to leave, if I like that person, if I like that service provider, no matter what the service is, and they're leaving your practice to go do their own thing or to do whatever, I am going with them because they're the ones that provided the service, even though it was your company,
Right.
right? Like it was your chiropractor office or your massage, therapy office, or, whatever it is. I am following my, person to whatever it is that they're doing. And so you're kind of always that, like that little bit away from having to, now you got to rebuild. Like if your one person leaves, let's say you are running a chiropractic office and you have 4 chiropractors and one of them leaves, right? That is 25% of your business that could potentially walk out the door with that person. And you can have
Right.
all the non-competes in the world that you could have had somebody sign when they started. Are you big enough to fight that? Are you big enough to go after them? Does it matter that it's going to make you look even, I don't know, like how public relations then becomes an issue
Yeah.
also, right? It's a
I don't,
hairstylist,
it's
it's a
crazy.
whatever. Like it's crazy to me that you rely on referrals alone, right? Because if we relied
Right.
on referrals alone, we'd never have any clients. Because
Yeah.
even though our clients know other business owners, they network with other business owners, there's rarely been a situation where we've gotten a referral that has then stuck with us for a long time.
Yeah.
We'll get a
Who
referral
actually
and
like,
somebody's like, you know,
oh yeah, I just don't have the budget. Yeah. Oh, I would love to
I don't
have
have
your
the
help. I
budget.
love what you
I'm
guys
not
do,
sure.
but
Yeah,
how much
I
are
don't have the
you?
budget.
Here's what we cost.
Right.
Ooh, no. Right. I get it. No, I'm not cutting my price down to be affordable to you
Yeah.
because that is a huge mistake. So
Right.
yeah, when you are rely on referrals, you're one angry customer away too from disaster.
Right.
If you're
Right.
relying on
Oh,
your
that's
customers
even
to
worse.
market your business, what happens if they stop marketing your business and you don't have any control over it? So a lot of referral businesses,
Right.
your lead flow is all over the place. So sometimes there's a ton, sometimes it's dry. And what
Right.
are you doing? You're gonna, hey, customers, you guys got to get on it. I haven't had a new customer in like a month. Are you even out there talking about my
You are
business? Like,
literally
what do you do? How do you
you're
control
one
that?
pissed
Or
off person away.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
they take business with them. They're mad. They tell all their
Mhm.
friends.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we've
yeah,
seen this
you got
happen
to
in
be in
real
control
time.
of it.
Oh, yeah.
It is a real challenge, and a lot of small businesses start off word of mouth and referral, and for a lot of them too,
Mhm.
that can grow you to a very comfortable business where you don't have to grow
Right.
beyond that, and you can be fine and exist for a very long time and be very happy. Nothing
Right.
wrong with that. We're talking
Right.
about
Right.
businesses who actually want to grow. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong. Like if you're happy where you're at, and there's plenty of that too, where I have learned that over the years in business too. There's a level you can get to in sales where you'll be fine. You don't need to
Yeah.
keep growing all the time.
Right.
You know, my goals are way different now than they were 10 years ago.
Right.
Where 10 years ago, it was like, how big can you get? How big? How big? How big? Just keep going. And
Right.
then it just gets worse and worse and worse, like more money, more trouble.
Yeah.
So now it's like, how
Should be
much
a
do I
theme
need to
song
like,
playing in the background for that, Mike.
yeah,
But
how many clients do we need where we can take care of them well? We don't need to add employees because really don't want employees. Nat and I can take care of
right.
them, and we can both pay our bills and be comfortable. Not
Content.
rich. I
Yep.
don't need to be rich. I'm not looking to be rich
Right.
anymore. I don't care. We're empty nesters,
Yep.
my wife and I. I just want to be able to pay
I
bills
have
and just kind of
college
work.
tuition to pay, so we're
Yeah,
slightly on a different
I know. So how many
timelines.
clients is that, right? It's not every client I can get. We're
Right.
we're right now in full transparency, you know, in this year 2026, we lost a couple of clients, so we're kind of
Mhm.
down right now. So we'll
Right.
take anybody, but
Yeah.
and we have a
Well,
couple of
and that's
offers
the
going right
thing
now. We've
that's
got some audits, like
cyclical
go
about
to Big Brain Strategy. There's some
right.
offers going on.
Yeah.
Um,
But this
but
is the thing
that
that's
it's
about every business, right? We're cyclical too. This is what we
yeah,
said
right.
earlier.
Mhm.
It's like we are always like every other business, something else happens and you're now out of a client, right? We had a
Yeah.
client that, Mike, you had started originally working with like 4 or 5 years ago, right? And
Hmm.
that client decided this year, like, hey, there are changes in my business. There's operational changes in my business. I'm not generating revenue that I used to generate. I cannot afford this anymore, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's, by the way, this that you can't afford anymore is a revenue generating thing that you're investing money in. No, I can't do this anymore. Okay. Again, marketing is always the first thing to get cut, right? Because you can't cut the salespeople, you can't cut your ops folks, you can't cut cost of materials because you're having to purchase them and so on and so forth. So it's like, we understand that, right? But when you have two clients whose businesses are on a downturn and they have to look to be as cash positive as they can be, we are the first people to go, and we get that, right? So it's kind of like, every other business, you are just one thing away from somebody's situation from losing that client,
Yeah.
right? You could
Yeah.
be somebody that, it's a hairstylist. There's a beautiful hair salon down the street from me that does extensions that are gorgeous, right? Like, and I've just kind of been like keeping an eye on her business, and she's been growing and stuff. But that is an investment. That is like a 2,500 plus investment for somebody, right? That person could lose their job, and you are now like, that is so out of your control. You didn't do anything wrong. They're so
Hmm.
happy with your service, they just cannot afford it anymore, right? So you have to always think about where is your next client coming from? What is the thing that you want? What is the message that you got to continuously put out there? Just because you have enough clients or you have enough customers where you're comfortable doesn't mean those customers are going to stay with you. It's a lot harder for small businesses than it is for bigger like brands, e-commerce brands. You can advertise a $25 t-shirt. It's an impulse buy, right, Mike? Like we always say that.
Yeah.
Is it anybody will come and maybe spend $25, $30 with you if the thing that you're selling is like interesting enough to them. Doesn't mean that they're going to come back. It doesn't mean that they're brand loyalists by any stretch. But if you're a small business, every person matters, right? And that person is one thing away in their life from not being your customer anymore. You have
Yep.
to keep that in mind. It may not even be anything that you're doing wrong or different or whatever. It just their circumstances have changed and they don't need your
Their
services
circumstances
anymore.
change, right? Yeah, the one I've had for many years now, he lost his biggest customer
Right.
to an overseas
that was
competitor who
yeah.
undercut price, right? Like he wasn't really doing anything wrong either. And he was very competitive price and had them for years, and then lost him to an overseas competitor who undercut price. And then that was his biggest customer. And you're like, oh, that's going to roll downhill.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem for everybody, so
Yeah.
And there you go. Like nothing we did or anything. It's just the reality in his business of what
Right.
happened. So you're like, it sucks. That sucks, but
And
okay. Hey, we get it,
it's hard. Right. So,
So,
you got to show
all right.
up, keep showing up. So
We're
that's
at our
the
hour.
that's the PSA. Yep. We're going to be doing this every day for an hour at some point during the day, usually around noonish. So
Try to be midday.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys can leave us, if you find us here, leave us questions and comments. We love answering questions. So leave us whatever your questions are. We're definitely happy to answer your question on
Yes.
anything marketing related. So do that.
All right. Thanks, everybody. If you were here,
Thanks, guys.
we'll see you. Check out our podcast too, The Cynical Marketers. We'll be recording a new one tomorrow. And then we'll put that out pretty quickly. I edit them, believe it or not, which won't shock you when you see it. So
great production value. Bye, guys.
I know.